So, there's rumours flying around that Theresa May is going to step down in June. Now, this is, this has a lot of potential, and this has a potential a lot of backlash as well. So, she doesn't have to. She doesn't. She's bulletproof till December, thanks to Jacob Rees-Mogg's failed knife in the back. But if she chooses to, that does lead to a lot of potential ramifications, because it won't lead automatically to a general election. I believe Conservatives have 2 weeks to elect a leader. But here's the thing. The Conservative Party right now is split so badly, it doesn't matter who gets into number 10, they're going to piss off a lot of other Conservatives. Now, one of my biggest critiques of Jeremy Corbyn is the fact that he's not really attacked the Conservative Party. And you'd have to imagine that any competent opposition would have destroyed the Conservative Party with the state that it's in. But Jeremy Corbyn hasn't. And that's an issue. But when it comes to who could possibly replace Theresa May, you have people like Dominic Raab. The last poll I saw, he was a favourite. He's kind of a centre, but Brexiteer. I would assume that he would lead us down the road of a no-deal Brexit. And I'd have to remind people who constantly say, oh, Theresa May's a Remainer and that's why we've not got good things. Dominic Raab was in charge of Brexit. He is a firm Brexiteer, but he was so dumb he didn't realise how important Dover was when it comes to trade. 10,000 lorries comes through the port of Dover. Dover port is one of the busiest ports, one of the busiest channels in the entire world. And yet Dominic Raab was so dumb, he didn't realise how important this was till months after the fact. And then realised, oh shit, yeah, can't actually make this work. I'm going to take the blame for this, so I'm tapping out. That's Dominic Raab. Then you've got the Michael Goves, who in part is responsible for fracking coming back to the UK. Then you have the more deplorables like Esther McVey. Now, to my knowledge, it's not confirmed that she would, because none of this is actually confirmed. It's all just speculation. But Esther McVey could run for it, and she could, in theory, get it, which is horrible. Because Esther McVey is responsible for universal credits. Esther McVey is the biggest attack on the UK. She is the most vile human being this country has produced. And I realise how big of a statement that is, and I do throw in serial killers into that mix as well. Esther McVey has killed more people than the average serial killer. She is genuinely that disgusting. But she could become our Prime Minister. But then you could have the much more extreme and moronic. I've seen a lot of people say that Jacob Rees-Mogg could be our Prime Minister. Now, personally, I don't see that. I've been wrong before, but I don't see that because when other elections have come up, he's thrown his weight behind other people, like Boris Johnson. So it's possible. It is extremely possible. But personally, I think Jacob Rees-Mogg is happiest being the power behind the throne, so to speak. He's very happy with the obscene amount of money that he gets paid, his access to the government, which benefits him on personal levels and his personal money interests, while not actually having to do as much work as the Prime Minister. Because regardless of who we get into number 10, whether it's someone I like, whether it's someone I don't like, there's a lot of work that comes with it. So I don't think Jacob Rees-Mogg will do it, because I don't think for him the payout is worth it. He's getting a fortune as it is already, and he's already incredibly influential in politics. But someone like Boris Johnson, it's possible. Now, Boris Johnson should scare people because he has this image of a bumbling buffoon, which bumbling buffoon should not be in charge of a fucking country anyway. But Boris Johnson is a national embarrassment. And Boris Johnson is responsible for Nazim Radcliffe, a British citizen sitting in an Iranian prison right now. That's Boris Johnson. That's the fucking idiot who could be Prime Minister. This man is also very pro-Trump, and my videos on Trump before, everyone should know exactly where I stand on that prick. But being very pro-Trump, Boris Johnson is also very pro-privatising the NHS. Now, America has a lot of good things, but their healthcare system is not one of them. But that is what Boris Johnson wants for the UK. And also, as a side note, that's also what Nigel Farage wants for the UK. He would give anything to have a trade deal with the United States. Now, a trade deal are not things to be taken lightly. Again, the benefit of the EU is that we have trade deals with the EU or via the EU, which means they are so much better for us than anything we can get on our own. Also, when it's a bad deal, well, we can renegotiate within Europe to get rid of that damage that we could possibly be taking. We can't do that on our own. And once we're locked into a trade deal, it is much harder to get out of than getting out of the EU. We will be locked into that for a long, long time. America has already stated they want us to get rid of workers and human rights. Amnesty International has warned, an independent body has warned the UK public, look, Conservatives, they're going to sack these off just to get a deal with America. Donald Trump himself and his disgusting cabinet, Mike Pompeo, fucking John Bolton, what a prick, have said that they want to privatise the NHS, and that would be part of the deal with the UK. Boris Johnson would spearhead us into that without any care for the cost of the average person in the UK. But it's not just Boris Johnson who would do that. There are a number of Conservatives who would lead us down that road. So Theresa May stepping down could be catastrophic for the UK. But this is just if the Conservative Party, which is incredibly broken, can back behind a single candidate. Your more moderate candidates won't have the backing from people like Jacob Rees-Mogg, and your more extreme candidates like Boris Johnson won't have the backing from the more moderates. It's something that could be a huge issue, and of course some MPs are bound to abstain from any vote because they just don't know what to do, which is, I suppose, fair, but I mean, realistically, your job is to serve the fucking country, you should be doing that. But if they can't agree on a single candidate to replace Theresa May, should she decide to step down, that would trigger a general election. And that's where things get very, very interesting. Labour have pissed off a lot of people, and local elections reflect that. So would it be a fairer coalition between someone like Labour and Lib Dem? That's incredibly possible. Could it be Lib Dem mixed with all the smaller groups like the Greens, like SNP, Plaid Cymru? That could happen. Possibly. I mean, I'd have to double check it. It's the first to pass the line, but it's possible that that could happen, and we could have a minority government, a government built of minority parties. There's just so many different outcomes that could come from Theresa May stepping down. Most of them are pretty bad for the country, but Theresa May has proven time and time again she doesn't actually care about the country, she only cares about her party. So what will happen? Flip a coin. That's really where we're at. We're at so much of a point where it's just speculation. Be interesting to see. Terrifying, but interesting.